Today we will be taking up a very simple and a very short topic, that is Watson and Crick model of DNA. Watson and Crick model of DNA, we already know about this model, that they have got a Nobel Prize for this model. Why it is of so much of significance? This model is of a lot of significance in biology. It is very important in biology. The reason is that it is an appropriate structure. It is an appropriate structure. It gave us a lot of explanations to all the questions that people had about DNA structure in their mind. I taken up a very simple review of the structure of DNA according to Watson and Crick in this model. We are not going into the structural details as of now. We'll just be studying about salient features of DNA. Salient features of the model of DNA given by Watson and Crick. Sometimes it comes as a 3-marker question in board exams. The question is very simple. Don't get confused between the questions. There is a difference in the questions. If the question says explain the structure of DNA, then we'll deal with it in a different manner. This question has come in previous board examination, so I am taking it separately. This question is, give the salient features of Watson and Crick model of DNA. So we are not going to talk about any modifications or any structural changes or any more discoveries which we had after this structure was discovered. We'll just stick to what? We'll just stick to what Watson and Crick told us about the structure of DNA. So the heading is in simple, salient features of Watson and Crick model of DNA. Remember, when we'll be doing this video and we are saying these are the salient features of Watson and Crick model, we will include only those features which were mentioned by Watson and Crick at that time when they introduced this double helix model. There are many more things which you already know about DNA, but remember, never add them in this answer, never mix them in this concept, because this question is very clear. It says salient features of Watson and Crick model of DNA. Now let us move on to the salient features or the main features, or if you say in simple language, the characteristic features of the model given by Watson and Crick for DNA. The first and the most important feature is, they said DNA is made of 2 polynucleotide chains. Remember, there are 16 features. One by one I will be taking up. They are very simple. Number 1, DNA is made up of 2 polynucleotide chains. Imagine the DNA, you know, the first thing which comes to your mind is 2 helical structures. So the first point would be that DNA is made up of 2 polynucleotide chains. We know polynucleotides, a combination of many nucleotides. We already know the difference between nucleoside and nucleotide. We know what is a nucleotide. So we are not going to go into details about this. We'll just be mentioning what? We'll mention that DNA is made up of 2 polynucleotide chains. Second feature beta. The backbone is made up of sugar, phosphate. We had 3 things. We had nitrogen, we had sugar, and we had phosphate. Leave nitrogen. The other 2 will form the backbone of DNA. See, when we talked about nucleotide, we said there are 3 things. We had a sugar, we had nitrogen, and we had the phosphate. So just forget about nitrogen, take the other 2. So the second point will be, the backbone is made up of sugar, phosphate. Third point now. The nitrogen bases, they project inwards. What was the third thing which was left out of the 3? It was nitrogen. So in the third point 10 about nitrogen bases. What is happening to nitrogen bases, beta? They project inwards. The nitrogen bases, they project inwards. So when we talk about salient features of model of DNA by Watson and Crick, the first point is DNA is made up of 2 polynucleotide chains. Second, the backbone is made up of sugar, phosphate. Number 3, the nitrogen bases, they project inwards. The nitrogen bases, they do not protrude out, they project inwards. Fourth point, 2 chains have anti-parallel polarity. Both the chains, we said there are 2 polynucleotide chains. So both these chains will have anti-parallel polarity. Means, next point, if one chain has 5' to 3' polarity, the other will have 3' to 5'. What we simply write is 3' 5' or 5' 3'. So if one chain has a polarity of 5 dash 3 dash, that means on the top if you have 5 prime, that means 5 dash, then at the bottom you have 3 dash, then the other chain will have a polarity of 3 to 5. If one has a polarity 5 to 3, if the top one is 5 and the lower one is 3, this is the polarity, then the other chain will be 3 5 5 prime, 3 prime 5 prime, that means 3 dash 5 dash. Now the next one. The bases are paired through the bonds to form base pairs. Bases never occur alone in DNA. Bases always pair with each other. Two bases, they form a pair. So they combine with each other with bonds. So bases are paired with the help of what? With the help of bonds. And when the bases become pairs, we call them as base pairs. You will not find them alone, they are found in pairs. Next, tell about the bonding now. A with T, that means adenine with thymine of the opposite strand by 2 hydrogen bonds. One strand will have adenine. Adenine will bond with the opposite strand, which base will have? Thymine. So A with T. And how many hydrogen bonds are there? There are 2 hydrogen bonds. Next one. Then cytosine will bond with guanine of the opposite strand by 3 hydrogen bonds. I just told you the bases are going to form pairs. And they'll have bonds between them. Which bonds? Hydrogen bonds. Now we need to remember who is going to form a bond with whom? AT, GC. Very simple. AT. A with T and G with C. A of one chain will bond with the T of the other chain. Similarly, C of one chain will bond with the G of the other chain. So, what do we have over here is, one thing becomes very clear when we observe A with T and C with G, that a purine base bonds with a pyrimidine base always. The bonding is always done in such a way that one purine base is going to bond or bind with the help of hydrogen bonds to the other pyrimidine base. It is not a purine with purine. That will not happen. And similarly, pyrimidine will not bind with pyrimidine. The bases are always bound in which fashion? It is purine base with a pyrimidine base. Next beta. A uniform distance is maintained between the two helix. We have two helix. They don't come very close to each other. At places, they don't go very far away from each other. What are we trying to tell? That there is a uniform distance which is maintained between the two helix. Next one. The two polypeptide chains are coiled in a right-handed fashion. They are coiled to each other, but they are coiled in what fashion? Right-handed fashion, from top to bottom. Of course, they are coiled. They intermingle with each other. They cut each other. So we will say that these chains, what do? Of course, they maintain a uniform distance between them, but they are coiled in a right-handed fashion. They make a coil-like structure, and that coiling is done in what fashion? Right-handed fashion. When I say right-handed fashion, I mean top to bottom, kind of a 90-degree angle. That is from top to bottom. It is not ki teda ho gaya 45 degree or 30 degree, nothing. It's right-handed fashion. Next. The pitch of the helix is 3.4 nanometers. This I have discussed earlier also with you. The pitch of the helix is how much? It is 3.4 nanometers. Next one, the number of base pairs in each turn. If I talk about each turn, then the number of base pairs in each turn is 10. Now it is very simple. Since the entire pitch of the helix is 3.4 nanometers, the number of base pairs in each turn is 10. So the distance between a base pair will be what? 3.4 upon 10. So the distance between a base pair is 0.34 nanometers. Don't get confused. If I say what is the pitch of the helix, you simply tell me 3.4 nanometers. If I say how many base pairs in each turn, you are going to tell me 10. And if I say what is the distance between each base pair, then it is 0.34 nanometers. If you have to calculate the percentage calculation of bases, I tell you to calculate the percentage calculation of any base, A, T, G, C, any one, then the simple formula can be used. A plus T is equal to 100 minus G plus C. A plus T is equal to 100 minus G plus C. One base pair stacks over the other. What happens is you have one base pair, one base has bonded with the other, and you have a base pair. There is another base pair on the top, another one, another one, another one. So they stack over one another. Stack का मतलब एक के ऊपर एक, एक के ऊपर एक. So the base pairs is stacked over one another, and this gives stability to the structure. Okay, of course bonds are given stability. So what are the two things which give stability to this DNA structure, or this which make this DNA structure very stable? If I ask, and there are two answers. Number one, the hydrogen bonds between the base pairs, and second, the stacking of the base pairs one over the other. So very fast I am reading out all these points again. Salient features of the model of DNA. Number one, DNA is made up of two polynucleotide chains. Number two, the backbone is made up of sugar phosphate. 3. The nitrogen bases, they project inwards. 4th, the chains have anti-parallel polarity. Next, if one chain has 5' to 3' polarity, then the other will have 3 to 5. Next one, the bases are paired through the bonds and they form pairs. Next, adenine with thymine of the opposite strand by 2 hydrogen bonds. Next, cytosine with guanine of opposite strand by 3 hydrogen bonds. Next, a purine always bonds with a pyrimidine base. Next one, a uniform distance is maintained between the two helix. Next beta, the two polypeptide chains are coiled in a right-handed fashion. Next, pitch of the helix is 3.4 nanometers. Next, number of base pairs in each turn is 10. Distance between each base pair is 0.34 nanometers. Percentage calculation of bases is done by A plus P is equal to 100 minus G plus C. One base pair stacks over the other. This gives stability to the structure of DNA. Two things which make the structure of DNA stable. Number one, the bonds, the hydrogen bonds between the bases, and number two, the stacking of the base pairs one over the other. These are the salient features of DNA. But it is very interesting to note that DNA is different. When we talk about prokaryotes and eukaryotes, it is not exactly the same. You will find some changes in DNA in prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Prokaryotes, very simple, no complications. But in eukaryotes, it is very complicated. We will be taking up DNA in eukaryotes in the next video. Let us talk about DNA in prokaryotes later. In prokaryotes, we know a well-defined nucleus is absent. If you are talking about a prokaryote, there is no well-defined nucleus. So what will happen now? So the DNA, now we remember that DNA has a negative charge. It is held together with some proteins that have a positive charge. Obviously, we need to have opposite charges so that both of them attract each other and can be at their positions. So since DNA has a negative charge, the proteins, they are around, they hold this. The DNA is held together with the help of certain proteins. Proteins have what charge? Proteins have positive charge. So there is a specific area where this happens. What happens is you have DNA lying there. That DNA has what charge? Negative charge. That DNA which has negative charge is held together. Who is holding it? Some proteins which have a charge, positive charge in an area. So this area or this region is called as nucleoid. What is it called? Nucleoid. So where will you find DNA in prokaryotes? You will find DNA in nucleoid. Nucleoid. Nucleoid area. Okay? What is it? Nucleoid. What is a nucleoid? That area where the negatively charged DNA is held together with the help of some positively charged proteins. So that area where the negative charged DNA, positive charged proteins are lying, attracting each other, holding each other tightly, that area is called as nucleoid. So this area or region is nucleoid. So where will you find the DNA in prokaryotes? You will find it in the nucleoid. Now the DNA, if you see, is, if you are talking about the DNA where? We are talking about the DNA by prokaryotes. So the DNA is like a large pipe kind of a structure. Large loop you can say, because pipe is straight. If your pipe is rolled, you can call it as a loop. So think about DNA in prokaryotes as a big loop which is surrounded by or holded by proteins. Simple way to remember or imagine DNA in prokaryotes is, it's a large loop which is held together by proteins. So this is all about DNA in prokaryotes. We said in prokaryotes we do not have a definite nucleus. So obviously DNA cannot be present in the nucleus. So the DNA which has a negative charge is held together with the help of proteins which have a charge, they have a positive charge. And this area where you have a negative charge DNA hold together or held together with positive charge proteins is called as a nucleoid. And if you think about the DNA of a prokaryotes, think that it is a large loop which is held by proteins. When we talk about DNA in eukaryotes, it is very different, it is more complicated. I will be taking up in the next video. So we have done two things in this. Salient features of Watson and Crick model of DNA. Remember, do not add up any more information, any more complexity of the structure of DNA in this answer, because the question is very simple. It says features of the model given by Watson and Crick. So just stick to this. And if we ask you in a single sentence about DNA in prokaryotes, it's very simple. It is found in the nucleoid. Since DNA is negative, it is held together by proteins which have a positive charge in a special area. That area is called as a nucleoid. We do not have a nucleus. So that area is what we call as a nucleoid. Thank you.